So shall we get started?
Yeah, I think we can get started. And yeah, there's slowly. Yeah, I see there's it's already 50. Yeah, it's still increasing, but I think to respect our candidates' time and
Yeah, I think we can.
yeah, it's yeah, because yeah, they're super busy. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get started. Good evening, neighbors. Welcome to 2021 Mason Candidate Forum. My name is Ning Chi. I'm a Mason resident for 18 years and also Vice President of APAPA Ohio State Chapter. APAPA stands for Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs. It is a non-profit and non-partisan organization with the mission to advance AAPI communities through increased leadership and civic engagement. Mason, as one of the best places in the country, has absolutely attracted many Asian Americans in recent years. According to 2019 data from the US Census Bureau, there are over 4,000 Asian Americans living in Mason, accounting for 12.2% of Mason's population. Like other communities in Mason, AAPI community cares about Mason and want to make it an even better place to live. So tonight, APAPA Ohio is very honored to have most of our local candidates here to share their visions on where Mason should go in near future. Before we get started, I'd like to welcome Jennifer Zavon, our communication director for APAPA Ohio, to introduce our moderator tonight. Jennifer.
Thank you, Ling. So my name is Jennifer Zavon, and like Ling said, I'm the communications director for APAPA Ohio. So it's my pleasure to introduce our moderator tonight. Dr. Donggang Liu is one of the dedicated advisors for APAPA. He is passionate about empowering the API youth community through education, leadership, and active participation in civic and public affairs. He is a UC business professor and lives in Mason with his wife Sharon and 2 children, Sean and Sophina. So with that, I would like to hand it over to Dr. Donggang Liu to get things started with our first candidate.
Jennifer, thanks for the introduction. So before we start, I would like to reiterate that APAPA as a non-partisan organization does not endorse any particular candidate or political party. All registered candidates were invited to join this forum. I would like to thank those candidates who are present today. So as for the format, each candidate will have 2 minutes to present his or her platform. I will ask a question collected from the audience. The candidate will have 2 minutes to respond to the question. There will be a 10-second time card warning. So this is the time card I prepared. All right, so I hope it works. And when your time is up, you will hear a beep sound. So let's do a test. All right. All right. So the candidates will appear in alphabetical order. We will start with city council candidates, followed by the school board candidates. For the audience, you can submit questions for a particular candidate using the Q&A feature, which can be found at the bottom of this Zoom video. So at the bottom, you will see a bunch of buttons. I think it's in the middle. Wait, something wrong here. Okay. So it's next to the participants. That's a button. Okay. So let us start with the city council candidate, Ashley Chance. Ashley Chance, you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
All right, good. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you for all your efforts in putting this thing together. As mentioned, name is Ashley Chance. I'm running for Mason City Council. I've had the privilege to serve on council for the past 6 years. I was appointed in September of 15, reelected in 17, and looking to get reelected this November. I've lived in Mason now for 41 years. I went through K through 12 through the schools. I absolutely love this community, and that's why I have chosen to run again. Some of my tenets or what my belief structures are is first and foremost, we are elected by the people, and so our responsibility is to listen to the citizens of Mason, on both sides, mind you. Everyone close to me they know where I stand and where my beliefs. But I think they also know that I'm willing to listen and take the most pragmatic approach, regardless of ideology. I have, I welcome diversity of thought, and as mentioned, people will know where I am when we're having the discussion. But there's always going to be respect and civility. So I think that's extremely important. I do want to see this downtown revitalized. Mason has done an incredible job all around in regards to our economic development, bringing in great companies with our parks, with our green space. And it's been a great balance between green, residential, and commercial. But we definitely need to revitalize our downtown. And I think there's a better process than the one that we have tried to advance in about the last year. I want to support small business. I'm a small business owner myself. As mentioned, we do an incredible job retaining and bringing in large businesses, and that's how we keep our taxes low. I'm a limited government guy. I want to see the golf course revitalized, and so that's who I am. And I look forward to answering any other questions that you guys might have for me.
Okay, great. So I think you have already answered the question, but you have another 2 minutes. So the question for you is, what is your position on the Mason downtown plan? What potential advantages or disadvantages do you see for Mason residents and small businesses? You have 2 minutes.
Well, we've addressed this at length on council really the past 2 years. And the advantage that I see to it is that it will get people living downtown. That is for sure. We don't know if that's advantage or a disadvantage, but it will create some retail downtown. But 19 parking spots for 20,000 square foot of retail, that math doesn't make sense to me. And so we would have that question has to be answered for me. The disadvantage is, it eliminates a lot of parking that we have now. Traffic is extremely suspect. The ROI to our taxpayers is in question. I believe this is a myopic view of the potential for downtown. This has only been offered to one developer, and we have not get any other perspectives or insight on the possibilities. So in short, we don't have a master plan, and we need to make sure we are following a process that includes all the stakeholders, meaning current businesses, residents, and property owners. And I want to address the downtown from a personal standpoint. I've mentioned publicly and in council chambers, and it's no secret that I've invested in downtown for most of my adult life. I started my first business when I was 24, and it was located in downtown Mason.
Seems there is a connection problem.
Build a new house there. So again, it's no secret that I invest in downtown. I've been there for the last 17 years. And if anyone wants to see it prosper, it's me. And some folks have taken these facts and tried to use it, that I invest in downtown and vilify it. And the fact of the matter is, it shouldn't be, I should be the first in line to sign up for this development and say, hey, let's bring this to fruition. But the fact is, I listened to the citizens in Mason and in council chambers on 3 separate occasions. They spoke loud and clearly, and they wanted to pause to understand the deal better. But what did 4 council members do? And regardless of the sentiment of the community, we passed it anyway. So in summary, I'm committed to—
The time is up. Sorry, Ashley. Thank you for your answer. So we are going to move to the next candidate, Mike Gill. So you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Very good. I want to thank APAPA for hosting this tonight and giving us an opportunity to come into your homes and talk to you about what's happening on council. I currently am on city council. I'm the current vice mayor of the city. I've been sitting on council for almost 4 years now, and it's been a great opportunity to represent your voice, doing all that I can to move Mason forward. As I look back, I see that our forefathers did a great job building a great community for us, and it's our job as a council to march that forward and see our community continue to grow. I support and stand for growth and progress, for a vibrant community, for a place where people want to live and work and raise a family. And I think those are the kind of things that Mason brings to the table for people. And that's why Mason is one of the top places in the nation for people to want to live and people want to work. So I think we have a great community. There's great things happening in Mason. We've got a hospital going in on the east side of Mason, $56 million development. We've got some corporate headquarters being built on the north side of Mason, a new corporate park going in up there. And we have this opportunity, as Councilmember Chance just alluded to the downtown development, and an opportunity to bring in some new dollars and some vibrancy to our downtown. I think Mason's downtown needs to live up to the standards of what the rest of Mason is. And I think we've lagged behind. We've seen other communities, Lebanon, Milford, Hamilton, Loveland, grow their downtowns, and we have failed to do that in Mason. And even though there's been 20 years of studies that have shown that Mason, needs to grow its downtown and the kind of things that we need to do to develop our downtown. So I continue to support that effort. I'm a conservative, I'm a Republican, I'm pro-life, pro-gun. I support our constitutional rights and our freedoms. And I ask you to support Mike Gill and give me 4 more years to represent your voice, to move Mason forward. And I will continue to work hard to do that. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So your question is the same question. What potential advantages or disadvantages do you feel the development plan has for Mason residents and small businesses? You have 2 minutes.
Yes. So certainly I see the big advantage is to bring some vibrancy and some life to our downtown. I think our downtown has fallen behind in terms of being a place where people really want to come and bring their dollars, spend their dollars, and be here. I think an advantage to what is being proposed is that it brings people living downtown. So there's going to be more people walking the downtown, supporting the small businesses and the businesses that are here. So people won't need to drive in and find parking places. They're already going to be living here, and they'll be able to walk around our downtown and spend their dollars here. And so I think that's a great advantage to this development in downtown. I think another advantage is that it's really leveraging private dollars. It's $20 million of a private developer that's being brought into downtown Mason. So it's not city money that's being spent and tax dollars that are being spent, but it's private money that's coming in to help revitalize our downtown and hopefully be a spark to generate growth and vibrancy as the rest of downtown kind of says, yes, this is what we need to do to grow and develop. And I see this as a great opportunity to have that happen. Certainly parking is going to be an issue. But we certainly have time to work on that. Certainly the development plan that was adopted by council isn't a done deal. It's certainly going to have to go through planning commission. It's certainly going to have to garner the support of the community as it goes through that process. And I think there's an opportunity for people to weigh in on what that development should look like, how it should finally be built. And I see those things coming together. So I certainly support our downtown and support our small businesses in Mason. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike, for your answer. So we are going to move to the next candidate, Mark Haiky. So you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Great, thank you. So first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers of tonight's event. It's important that our residents have an opportunity to hear from all the candidates. So thank you also to those who are taking their time out of their busy day to come and listen to us this evening. So as you know, my name is Mark Haiky, and I am running for Mason City Council. I've lived here in Mason for 19 years, and I've been married to my wife, Nicole, for 31. I have 3 amazing children, 2 of whom are graduates of Mason High School. I'm a Desert Storm veteran, having served for 20 years in the United States Air Force. My career took me to California, Mississippi, England, Alabama, and Colorado. I'm incredibly blessed to have served with countless others who devoted their lives to supporting and defending the Constitution of the United States. After retiring from the Air Force, my family and I moved to Mason. I joined my family's business, thus becoming the chief information officer for a $35 million distribution company. After two years there, I fulfilled my dream of starting my own business with my wife, Nicole. We recently sold that business after 16 years. Since moving to Mason, I've served on several boards and in many leadership positions for a number of nonprofit organizations. All of these experiences uniquely qualify me to serve the residents of our city as a member of council. I'll be honest, I never had any ambitions to get involved in politics at any level. However, I've always believed that if I'm going to criticize something, I'd better be willing to step up and do something to make it better. Our city council needs to be better. We need people on council who will work together for what's best for our city, not our own personal or political interests. More than anything, we need common sense, common decency, and mutual respect between all members of council. I would greatly appreciate it if you would consider voting for me on November 2nd. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. So your question is, over the past few months, we have seen a rising number of break-ins and car theft in the Mason area. If elected, what actions will you take to protect the safety and the properties of Mason residents? You have 2 minutes.
Well, thank you. Safety is very important. And one of the things that we are incredibly fortunate to have here in Mason is a very safe community. Obviously, things happen. We know that. We've had car break-ins in our neighborhood. This just happens throughout the city. But what's important to understand is that we have an amazing police department here in the city. I know the chief. I've met him on a number of occasions. I know several of the officers. They're highly dedicated to doing what's right for our city. And city council is very dedicated to making sure that the budget for the police and the fire and all the other administrative things that need to take place for our city are very well funded. We can always do better, though. We can always find ways to improve. If there are programs that we need to look at, it's always good to go out and look at other organizations and see how do they manage this? How do they deal with crime? How are they, if they're successful in reducing crime, how are they doing that? And I would fully support that we go out and learn from these other organizations. Really, I think that's pretty much it. We support our police department, we support our fire department, and we do what we need to do to improve where we need to improve. But I think we absolutely have one of the finest police and fire departments in the country.
Thanks, Mike. We appreciate your input.
Thank you.
So our next candidate is Margie Murray. Margie Murray, you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Okay, thank you. And thank you also for hosting this event. I appreciate the opportunity to introduce myself to the Mason community. I've lived in Mason for 18 years and raised 3 children here who have graduated from Mason High School and are adults now. And I have a degree in accounting from the University of Cincinnati. And I was a former auditor. I'm currently a controller at a business in Cincinnati that is a real estate real estate company. And we also do property management. So one of the things, I'm a conservative and I'm also a Republican. Myself and 3 other candidates that are running for council were endorsed by the Warren County Republican Party, and that's Mike Gill, TJ Honor Law, myself, and Barbara Hogan. I believe and I support the police and first responders and agree that we need to provide them everything they need to do a great job as they do now. I believe in fiscal responsibility. I support limited government and the Second Amendment. I am pro downtown development and pro the golf course in Mason, keeping that a vibrant activity and community. I'm pro-life and pro-family, and I also support the Sanctuary Cities for the Unborn that was introduced on Mason City Council. So that's about it.
Okay, great, thanks.
Thank you.
Let's see, probably you have answered part of the question. So the question for you is, do you support the abortion ban ordinance? Why or why not? Is there anything you would change about this ordinance? You have 2
I
minutes.
do support the abortion ban. And something important to point out about the abortion ban is that it's currently is the status quo in Mason. So currently there are no abortion clinics or doctors that perform abortion in the city of Mason. As I understand it, doctors have to have a special certification in order to dispense the abortion pill. And as far as I know, there aren't any doctors that currently perform this. So it won't change the status quo in Mason. The second part of that issue is that it is a land use ordinance, just as the, not supporting marijuana dispensaries in Mason was. This is the same. So it just wouldn't support an abortion clinic in Mason. And it's not telling women to do what to do with their bodies or their uterus, as they claim, and they've picketed. That's not what this ordinance does. It just says that abortions aren't allowed within the city limits, which doesn't change the status quo. And there was a doctor that testified in council and about an abortion clinic that set up across the street from his clinic in Sharonville. And he went on to explain that he opened up his office to faith-based volunteers that counseled women and provided alternatives to abortion. And he did that because he saw the women being brought into the abortion clinic and felt like they didn't have other information on something else that they could do instead of the abortion, because I'm sure it's a scary thing to have an unwanted pregnancy and think that your entire life is going to be changed. So he did provide faith-based counseling across the street. He opened up 3 offices in his practice, and he said he saved many babies' lives. And I think that is just a wonderful story. He did also lament at how having the abortion clinic there, it tore their community apart. And he recommended that Mason pass the ordinance and get ahead of this in Mason. So thank you.
Thanks. Maggie, for your response. Now let's move to the next candidate, Diana Nelson. Diana, you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Hello, I want to just take a minute to thank everyone for having us here today to talk with you. I think candidate forums are super important because it allows the community the ability to learn more about who their local leaders are. I have been on Mason City Council for 6 years, and I have been a Mason resident for 21 years. To tell you a little bit about myself, I have an undergraduate degree in accounting and a master's degree in taxation. I took a comparative tax policy and procedure course from Harvard University. I am a fiscal conservative. I am also a certified public accountant, the chief financial officer for a multi-million-dollar company, a business owner. I serve on the board of trustees for a charity that supports veterans and Gold Star families. I am the president of the Warren County Municipal League, and I serve on the Ohio Municipal League's tax committee. I was appointed by the Treasury of the United States and served 3 years on a federal executive advisory board to the IRS as a taxpayer advocate representing the state of Ohio. I have been a strong advocate for our community and for our taxpayers for many years. I believe Mason should operate with fiduciary responsibility while providing essential needs that our citizens require. During my time on council, I've prioritized a balanced budget and voted against unnecessary spending. I've lowered debt by $17.3 million and increased revenue by $9.2 million without raising taxes. I voted no to giving a private developer millions of our tax dollars to build 120 apartments in our downtown. I've helped our city generate $1.16 billion in economic development and added 6,000 new jobs. I fought hard to fund our small businesses during the pandemic, and with the help of Ashley and Josh Stricula, we launched one of the largest small business recovery programs in the nation. I believe in funding improvements to our golf course, maintaining green space, connecting our bike paths, and fully funding our police and our fire. It is my promise to you to keep Mason's income tax rates one of the lowest in Ohio.
So
I feel very...
Sorry, your time is up.
Okay.
So we have one question for you. What is your position on the Mason downtown project? What are potential advantages or disadvantages do you feel the plan has for Mason residents and small businesses?
I am completely against the downtown development project. We definitely need development in our downtown, but what our city needs is restaurants and retail shops, not 120 apartments sitting there in downtown. It will be an eyesore. It's a 4-story apartment complex. There is some retail at the bottom, but not enough to make it worth it. Our infrastructure in downtown is congested, as you know, driving through downtown. To add another 120 units to downtown before any infrastructure expansion, that's going to be a traffic nightmare. We are giving approximately $11 million to this private developer. There is no return on investment. This has never happened in the city of Mason before, ever. We did not ask for bids to give away this property and say who could, who wants to develop something. There were no bids. It was just instantly given to a private developer with a lot of taxpayer dollars. So I am completely against it, although I am for development of downtown. And I look forward to serving on council, stopping this development and putting restaurants and shops in there.
Thanks for your response. Let's move to the next candidate and our last candidate for the city council, Barbara Spade. Barbara, you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Thank you so much. I really want to say thank you to the Asian Pacific Islander American Public Affairs for putting this forum on for us tonight. And this has been very convenient that we're able to sit in our homes and be comfy and do that. So thank you. I am running for Mason City Council again. I previously served on council from 2011 to 2019, and I was the vice mayor from 2015 to 2019. I grew up here and I graduated from William Mason High School, as did my husband, John, and all of our children did. I did leave Mason for 20 years and I worked as a social worker, and then I returned home to finish my social work career while living in Mason. I retired from social work in 2005. Helping create strong families has always been the core of my work. I continue to volunteer for the Warren County Abuse and Rape Crisis Shelter as a board trustee, and I'm also a trustee for the Mary J. Klingling Trust Fund, where we allocate grant funds to nonprofit programs that serve at-risk or troubled youth. Since there's not really too much time to talk about my background and accomplishments while I was on council, I want to encourage everyone to please visit my website at spadeforcouncil.com. I want to continue to be your representative on council and voice your concerns. Initially, my focus will be to bring calm to our city and council after the events of the past 2 years. I want to bring cohesiveness back to city council and return the council to the important work of the city, like improving our roads and our sidewalks, looking at ways to improve our traffic challenges in the city, and also repairing and building the partnerships that we need with, for example, like with the Maid Chamber, businesses, community organizations, the schools, the downtown community, and the citizens of Mason. And that's all citizens of Mason. I want to maintain our strong revenue base to keep our taxes low and provide the amenities that we all enjoy, like the parks and the Grizzly Golf Course and the Course View restaurant. I consider myself a common sense Republican who still believes in the basics like honesty, loyalty, trust, civility, and commitment.
Barbara?
And I'm not a politician,
Barbara.
I am a public servant.
So we
Thank
have
you so
a question
much.
for you.
Thank you so much. I
We
appreciate
have a
it.
question for you. Do you support the abortion ban ordinance? Why or why not? Is there anything you would like to do to make any change? You have 2 minutes.
Yes, I would like to say that, first of all, I think whether you support it or not support it has nothing to do about whether you're for abortion or against abortion. The entire time I served on council, I have never seen anything like this kind of an issue brought before council. It's not something that Mason City Council should be dealing with. We don't legislate locally. The ordinance that's been brought before the council is something that's already been said. You can't even enforce it. And there will be lots of lawsuits brought before the city. And it's my understanding the reason why no changes can occur within the ordinance is because they've gone with this Texas group that has written it, and they have to have permission from the Texas group to change it, because once the lawsuits start occurring, they want the Texas group to defend them in the lawsuits. So that's the reason why Texas is controlling what's going on with this particular ordinance. And it's just really simple to me. It doesn't make any difference to me whether you're pro-abortion or if you're pro-life. I'm sorry, my cat's getting ready to come in this picture here. It's not about being pro-life or being pro-choice. It's about whether this is something city council should be dealing with, and it absolutely is not something city council should be dealing with. And I think the sooner that the current council realizes that and moves on, the better, because this is going to hurt our businesses. This is going to hurt our core of who we are, because it has divided this community, and our community needs to be reunited once again. So do I support this current ordinance? Absolutely not in any way, shape, or form. And it's not because I'm either pro-life or pro-choice. It has nothing to do with it.
Thanks for your response, Barbara. So now our 6 city council candidates have all presented themselves and answered questions. I do see we have some questions flying around in the Q&A session. So I would appreciate your patience to stay here for another 20 minutes. So after our 3 school board candidates present their statements and answer questions, we are going to open the floor for questions. Okay. So now we are going to move to the school board candidates. Our first candidate is Charles Galvin. So Charles, you have 2 minutes to present yourself. Do we have Charles?
Yeah, they need to unmute him. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Unmute himself.
Yes, great.
Good deal.
Yeah,
Okay.
2 minutes. All right.
Good evening. Sia ni, arigato, kamsaheo, and thank you to APAPA's Ohio chapter for hosting tonight's forum. My name is Charles Galvin. I grew up in Westchester, Ohio, not far from here, and attended St. Xavier High School and Xavier University, where I met my wife, Natalie. After graduating from Notre Dame Law School, I returned home to Westchester and started practicing at Frost Brown Todd, where I still work today as a member in our government services, business litigation, and appellate practice groups. I've represented a number of private and public clients in litigation all over the state of Ohio in state and federal courts, including school districts. Part of my practice also involves serving as law director for elected officials and top administrators of various local government bodies. Today, I'm the proud parent of a current Comet who attends Mason Early Childhood Center, as well as a future Comet who will attend Mason Early Childhood Center, and a soon-to-be Comet due this coming January, who will have more green and white onesies than she'll ever be able to wear. I also happen to be president of the board and nearing the end of my first 4-year term. For the past 4 years, I've worked hard to reward the trust Mason voters invested in me by focusing on the core functions of our district while keeping students, teachers, and taxpayers at the forefront of all my decisions. I'm running for re-election because serving on the board has given me more than I deserve. The past 2 years in particular have been unprecedented, not only in Mason, but across the country. I've had the privilege to sit in the center seat at our meetings and work closely with our superintendent, treasurer, and fellow board members in both peacetime and under crisis. I've gained valuable insight not only in how our district operates, but also how our community feels about important issues. Simply put, Mason voters have invested 4 years worth of institutional knowledge in me, and I want to continue paying that investment forward for the benefit of our students, staff, and taxpayers. I look forward to sharing more of my vision for our district with you all tonight and hope that on November 2nd, you'll help me galvanize Mason schools with your vote. Thank you.
Thanks, Charles. So the question for you is, given the high percentage of Asian Pacific Island students in Mason schools, would you support the incorporation of Asian American history into the school curriculum? You have 2 minutes.
Thank you for the question. And I would just like to say that my initial answer would be any curriculum change or proposed class, I would be in favor of, assuming it went through the proper channels and protocols that we have at Mason schools. And so to provide a little bit of context for that, we have a lot of input from our community anytime we want to incorporate a new class or a new course proposal in our curriculum. The way we kind of go about that is we crowdsource, and a lot of times different groups or sources will come up with an idea for a new proposal. And anytime a course gains enough traction in our community, the first place where that's vetted out is at the building or administrative level. Teachers will get together in a particular department and talk about the practicality of incorporating a course. And eventually the course or the idea makes its way to what's known as our Student Achievement Committee. And that committee is comprised of lots of local stakeholders that include teachers, it includes administrators, and it includes parents in our community. And through that committee, different course proposals are vetted, they're reviewed, questions are asked, tweaks are made, revisions are made. And if a Student Achievement Committee will recommend that a course be incorporated into our curriculum, then at that time, the superintendent would review that course and determine whether or not that's something that he would recommend or she would recommend in the case to the school board. And by that time, the school board would then review in depth that curriculum, that course proposal. We would do a reading at our board meeting and give public input, a broader public input, the opportunity to review what that course is, ask questions, and finally, after a period of time, once we've had full public input and the opportunity to talk about that course, we would vote on approving that.
Thanks, Charles, for your response. So let's move on to the next candidate, school board candidate, Ian O. Ian, you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Thank you, APAPA, for the opportunity to discuss our desire to serve our community. It's really important that all people in our community get to hear from us. My name is Ian Orr. I'm running for Mason City School Board. I've been married to my wife, Jessica, for 14 years, and we've lived in Mason all 14 of those years. We have 2 comic graduates, our oldest son, EJ, and our oldest daughter, Maya. And we have 2 current commets that are one is in the high school, Eden, and the other is in Mason Intermediate, Aaron. And I'm a graduate of public schools, and my entire family has gone to public schools. So I understand what a great public education can launch you forward in life. I'm running for Mason City School Board because I believe I have the skills and the commitment to our community and a deep investment in our school district to make a positive impact for all our students and staff and community. My skills professionally, I am a risk management professional for a Fortune 100 company. And so what that means is that I forecast what can happen, 5, 10, 15 years down the road for businesses and come up with solutions for them to finance those risks and which ones they should retain themselves. So listening to experts such as engineers and claim professionals is something that I do on a daily basis, along with other insurance professionals. So I know how to listen and build consensus to a fruitful decision for everyone involved. With regard to the commitment to my community, I volunteered widely across the district and will continue to do so, whether on the board or not. And with my deep investment, we've got a daughter that's now a teacher at MI. We've got friends that are staff members in the building, and we just love our community. So hope to earn your vote on November 2nd.
Thanks, Ian. So the question for you is, Asian students make up over 14% of students in Mason schools. However, there is less representation of Asian Americans among staff in the school district. What actions will you take to ensure that the diversity of staff reflects the student population? What will you prioritize in staffing and recruitment?
That's a great question. And when we look at our staff as a whole, overwhelmingly we get our staff from one local university, which means that we're sort of subject to the demographics of their educational program. So we don't always get to set our demographic priorities as far as who that university admits and then graduates. So we may need a shift so that we can get, we can pull from a wider array of candidates to get in front of our students. So, you know, Ohio makes it hard because you have to be licensed in the state of Ohio to teach. So it's difficult to pull teachers from out of state. And we often call ourselves a destination district for learners, but I want to make sure that we have a reputation as a destination district for staff members across the state. So what does that look like? That is a investment in going out and being proactive to find partners across the state to give us a robust pipeline of diverse candidates to fill our vacancies. We know there's a teacher shortage nationwide, but I believe that we can put together the best packages in the state of Ohio and have the best community in the state of Ohio that is here to support and embrace those staff members that we recruit. So it starts with relationships and getting out outside of Southwest Ohio to develop a robust pipeline around the state so that we can attract the best and brightest talent to keep and grow our Mason quality.
Thanks, Ian. So our last candidate is Matt Steele. Matt, you have 2 minutes to present yourself.
Thank you. Thank you, APAPA, for this opportunity to address the community. We're very proud of our Asian American families who live here, and this is a fantastic chance to connect with you directly through this organization. So thank you for the chance. My name is Matt Steele. I've been on the school board since 2011. I was appointed at the time. I grew up in a small town in Northern Ohio to parents who poured everything into me. They taught me about the value of public service and the importance of giving your time and treasure to your community. I'm married to Carrie, who is a teacher in a neighboring district. And together we are parents of a 5th grader at Mason Intermediate School and twin 3rd grade boys at Mason Elementary School. My profession is that I'm an attorney by trade, but now I'm back at Fifth Third Bank, managing risk programs and risk across the board for the commercial lending business, which is a $120 billion portfolio business. I'm running for the school board for another term on the school board because what I find most fulfilling about being a member of the board is the ability to present and institute a consistent vision and a stable long-term view of where we need to be to make sure that we have Mason quality education for all of our current learners, but our learners for generations to come. And so what does that consistent vision mean for us? It means that we can maintain excellence throughout cycles, throughout the ups and downs. It means that we can do big construction projects like renovating the middle school, adding on to MECC, changing space configurations at ME and MI to the tune of $40 million without asking our taxpayers for a single penny to finance that project. It means reducing our debt. When I joined the board in 2011, our outstanding debt, which wasn't terrible with all the construction projects at the time, at $135 million, it's down to $30 million. And the consistent vision allows us to do things like stay open and offer our families choice during COVID to be online if they chose that for themselves. And now this year, hopefully to remain national leaders as we come out of COVID and deal with mental health issues that are arising for all of us as a result of the pandemic. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So your question is, as class sizes in the Mason schools continue to increase, some parents are concerned that teachers' focus and energy is increasingly drawn to the highest and the lowest performing students. What measures have you taken and will you take to make sure all students have access to the support they need in the classroom? You have 2 minutes.
Yeah, thank you for the question. It's an important one because I think we all as parents who have kids in any schools want to make sure that all of our students are getting as much attention as they can, right, and deserve. And I know that there is a feeling that our class sizes are too big or increasing. I want to make sure that our community hears that that's actually not really true. They've actually creeped down a little bit, and we've leveled them off, and we're maintaining. When I joined the board, it was after an unfortunate levy defeat in 2010, and there were really tough choices that had to be made by our community, our staff, our families. We cut positions to save money, but we also instituted a program where we were starting to, as a result of enrollment decreases, So just as a reminder for people who might be a little newer to Mason, Mason has had a time of explosive growth at the end of the 90s and the early 2000s. That leveled off around 2010, 2013. And so enrollment in the schools actually leveled off for the most part and actually started to tick down a little bit. So we made a decision as a cost-cutting measure to cut teacher positions as enrollment dropped. And that created a kind of class sizes increasing a little bit over time. But about 4 or 5 years ago, we actually made a decision to reinvest and to not cut teacher positions as enrollment decreases. So naturally, class size decreases too, because the number of students are remaining basically the same, and in fact falling a little. And so same number of teachers, fewer students, class size gets reduced a little bit. And so this is an important thing that we're always keeping our eyes on, and we look at enrollment over time and make those projections and investment decisions. But we're keyed on that to maintain and hopefully even reduce a little bit our class size. Thank you.
Thanks, Matt. So all of our candidates has presented their views, statements. So I'm going to open the floor for questions. We already have some questions that are popping up in the Q&A. Let me see. So the first question, so I'm going back to the city council candidates. We have a question that is, should the residents be allowed to decide about downtown development instead of council? How about this? Let's do this in a reverse way. So each candidate will have 1 minute to address this question. We start from Barbara Spade. Barbara, do you want to start?
Could you please repeat the question?
The question is, should the residents be allowed to decide about downtown development instead of council?
Oh, absolutely. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen. I think most people are aware that there are a group of citizens that got a referendum together. And I believe, I don't know the exact number, there was over 2,400, I think, 2,500 signatures on it. So I think that really says a lot about how our citizens feel about this project and the fact that they wanted the project to go slower, to pause it, to learn more about it. I think everyone wants development in downtown. I think that everyone is interested in this project, but I think a lot of people felt like it was just being forced and actually being forced very quickly. And I think if the council would have decided to pause it, we wouldn't have had the referendum at all. I'm pretty sure it'll be on the ballot in May. And so citizens will get that opportunity to decide whether they want to go forward with this now or not. So yes, citizens should absolutely have a voice in everything we do.
All right, thanks. So the next question is also from Randy. There are enough signatures to stop this project now. I think this is referred to the downtown project. Why do you think so many residents signed the petition? So Diana, would you like to answer this question?
Yes, I would. Thank you. You know, we had about, I think, 4 hours of residents coming up to council and speaking. And I think only 2 or 3 people out of 4 hours worth of residents said that they wanted this project. The majority of the residents in our community do not want 120 apartments sitting in their downtown. They do not want to pay a developer up to $11 million. So I think that, you know, they were not being heard by city council, and they got together and they put the referendum together. And, you know, I'm proud of them for doing that. I think that's great that they did it. They feel passionate enough about something and they took action on it. And I respect that a lot. So I do anticipate we will see it on the ballot come May.
Thanks, Diana. So the next question is from Tom Courtney. His question is directed to Mike Gill. So I'm going to read the question. Council member Gill, in April 2019, during the height of the COVID-19 pandemic, your peer, Council member Brandon, referred to COVID as the Chinese Communist Party virus. When given the opportunity to denounce his comment, you stayed silent. Can you explain why you did not speak out against this inflammatory comment? Thanks. You have 1 minute.
Yeah, thank you for the opportunity to address that. You know, let me apologize. I certainly should have taken that opportunity to say that, you know, that was inflammatory language, shouldn't have been used. And we were certainly dealing with the coronavirus issues in front of council. And that period of time, I think we were consumed with that, but it should have been put down, and Mr. Bradburn should have been instructed, Councilmember Bradburn should have been instructed that that was not appropriate language to use. And I want to apologize that we didn't have the opportunity to denounce that. I would certainly denounce that currently. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So the next question is from Frank. Ooh. Mason is known for diversity. What are the proper actions you would take to embrace the new immigrants? So this question should be Maggie Murray. Maggie, would you like to address this question? Mark Haiky, do you like to address this question?
I think Margie's still there. She's muted.
I was muted. Sorry about that. Okay.
That's fine.
So yeah, Mason is a diverse community currently, and I think that there's a lot of opportunities to meet other people. There's a large Indian population in Mason, as well as a Chinese population. And I think that our community is enhanced by this. You know, our world is getting bigger in a small town. And so as far as more diversity, I would say potentially we could use facilities like the community center to host events, multicultural events. We could have multicultural, maybe like cooking classes. I would love to learn how to make good Chinese food. I heard it's much better than what we have in the restaurants currently. And other things about your community as well. I think the Mason Community Center and different classes that they offer could benefit the community for that. And also in schools, they do have those after school programs for children. And I think offering more multicultural activities and things like that would be really fun.
Thanks, Maggie.
Mm-hmm.
Our next question is it's directed to school board candidates. So the question is, let me see. The question is, currently for MECC, each class has a size about 20 kids and only one or maybe two if lucky. What is your plan to lower the student teacher ratio? So let's start from Matt. Matt Steele, do you want to address this question?
Yeah, I think I did address that.
Address that.
Yeah, 20 is not a really in the education sphere a huge, you know, most other districts would be thrilled to have 20 to a classroom. And I think, and it's important to note too, I think even the questioner noted that there might be another adult in the room. So remember that it's not necessarily student adult ratio, they're paraprofessionals as well. So, but we have our eyes on class size. We have goals, and we, like I said, have made choices to have class size start to creep down over the years.
All right, thank you. So the next question again is for the school board candidates. What measures will you consider to keep our kids in school safe under the COVID pandemic situation? Ian, do you want to address this question?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the largest questions that I get, certainly when I talk to the community and that are on minds of parents. Here's where I'd rely on my expertise, listening to experts. We I am not a medical health professional, and I don't play one on television. So making sure that we're talking to medical doctors and hospitals to see what capacity they have to treat, talking to the County Board of Health to see what our community spread looks like, and diving into our own data to see how the virus is being transmitted, not just in our schools, because we know our kids have lives outside of schools. So we have to be transparent about who we're listening to, what those voices are saying, so that we can come up with a plan as we transition out of some COVID protocols and get back to more choice for parents and students in the school year.
Thanks, Ian. So the next question is for, I think it's for city council candidates. The question is, how will you make Mason a more bicycle-friendly city? Mark Haiky, would you like to address this question?
Sure. It's actually something I've been thinking about for quite a while. You know, we're doing a lot of work already to tie into the Miami Bike Trail, which is awesome. I know we've got some stuff going. I believe it's from the Mason Sports Park over behind the old Houston Inn. But we've also got some work to do there. I live up in the Crooked Tree neighborhood, and when they widened Bethany, they put some bike path and walking paths on one side of the road, but one side was left out, and it was originally on the plan. Well, now we've got kids that want to go up to the new UDF up on the corner by the roundabout, and for them to do that, they've got to cross a very, very busy Bethany Road. So that's just not an option for them. So we really need to, you know, and that's just one example. We need to be able to get around on our bikes. We need to be able to go downtown on our bikes to visit the businesses that are there and do it safely. So I would love to see us add more bike trails wherever it makes sense so that we can get anywhere in our city safely.
All right, thank you, Mike. Thank you, Mark. Our last question is for Ashley Chance. There is not enough transparency about the downtown development project. The project like this magnitude should not be decided by 4 city councils, but by the resident vote. We are suspicious of any interest transfer on the back of this deal. And actually, we do have a question that was pre-collected. I hope you may want to take this opportunity to clarify. It says there are rumors about some property in downtown Mason that you purchased. Would you like to explain your involvement? Thanks.
Yeah, sure. I'm glad that you asked because, you know, as I've mentioned in my earlier talk I've been investing in Mason and downtown Mason since for 19 years now. I have had my businesses. I've been a business owner since I was 24 years old. For 19 years. So I've been a resident of Mason for 41 years. So I've always invested in downtown Mason. I am invested in downtown Mason. And what some of these folks are talking about is a clerical error that I made on a report. And, you know, it befuddles me that when it comes to a $20 million development deal, you know, we had one name on the report, but one name that we're always dealing with. And I did the exact same thing. So there's nothing underhanded, and I am going to be, I'm willing to address this with anyone. I do own the business that it's 123 East Main Street. I own the building where Adesso is, where we do some really cool inclusion stuff in regards to having Indian and Asian food prepared there. But yeah, it's a shame, but this is really some political hobbyists that went out and basically weaponized the law and weaponized government to to basically make something that's not. And it's a shame that these things happen. It's been happening for 18 years by a certain group. And that's why I hope that, you know, come November 2nd, this stuff stops, because it has to stop. There is no business for this type of stuff to go on in Mason in regards to these type of political witch hunts. And so I hope and pray that, you know, the voters come out and they see this and understand it, because again, though, I do, you know, it's something that, you know, it's just a shame that it happens, and it's happening way too often with a certain group. And, you know.
Thanks, Ashley, for the clarification. I think the time is up. it's 9 o'clock. I would like to thank all the candidates for your time to speaking to our audience. Now we already have like 130 audience. That's great. And we have a lot of questions flying around. Sorry, my apology to the audience. We do not have time to take your questions. Thank you again. I would like to hand this over to our president. Thank you.
Alrighty, on behalf of APAPA, thank you, candidates, for coming to the event tonight. We really appreciate your time and your willingness to have an open dialogue with the Mason residents. And I want to give a heartfelt thank you to our neighbors, our wonderful audience. Without you, this event wouldn't happen. I know it's a Tuesday. You have family obligations. You could be anywhere else, but you chose to be here. So thank you. Thank you, APAPA. Thank you, wonderful moderator. Dr. Liu, you did a fantastic job. And thank you for the panelists. You guys worked tirelessly and you spent so much time and effort to put this event together. And thank you, everyone. And good night.
Thank you and good night.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
everybody.
you.
Thank you.
Good night.
Thank you.
Thank you.